something you've likely never heard of, coffee that is grown here on the Central Coast. Jim Shanley from Shanley Farms joins us now with more information. Welcome to the program, Jim.
How you doing?
Great, and I got to tell people, when he arrived, he had a handful of goodies. They looked like little, really tiny jalapeno peppers, almost, or more like serrano peppers. But when you cut them open and then squeeze them, a bunch of little tiny balls that almost look like caviar came out. You bite down on those, and it's like a citrus explosion in your mouth.
Yeah, they're finger limes. We've been growing them for about 7 years. We were the first people in the United States to actually plant trees. We have them on 2 farms, one of them in the San Joaquin Valley, one of them on the Central Coast here outside Morro Bay.
So you just like to grow things that most people aren't growing.
we do the stuff everybody else doesn't do.
Right.
But we do some stuff people do. We have avocados as well.
Yeah, and how can you not? Avocados are so delicious. So I imagine most people, when they learn that coffee is grown here locally, wonder how you can possibly do that with the climate. Is it a special strain, or?
If you read the books, we can't do it. And in fact, no one has except for my partner, Jay Ruskey. Jay has a farm outside Goleta. Mm-hmm. And about 8 years ago, I believe, he was in a conversation with a researcher at the University of California. And they decided they were going to take several varieties of named varieties of coffee that were known to be things that were a little bit out of the ordinary. They took conditions that were a little bit different, and they took some other strains as well, and they gave it a shot. And Jay's a fantastic farmer of organic produce.
Jay went to Cal Poly, didn't he?
Jay did go to Cal Poly.
A Poly grad.
And he decided to bite the bullet, and through trial and error and a lot of work and some help from the research community, he has been able to grow 6 different varieties of coffee on the farm in Goleta. And we have now jointly opened a nursery in Goleta where we're going to grow coffee plants. And our first commercial offering of coffee plants to other farmers is going to be about 14 months from now.
About 14 months. What is the fruit cycle of a coffee plant?
Jay's better at this than I am, but because I'm still learning lots of stuff. But I believe the first fruit, you'll get some precocious fruit second or third year. Fourth or fifth year, you can expect a substantial yield, and after that, you'll get a full production.
Now, they turn into little red berries.
Cherries, they're called.
Coffee cherries.
Yep.
And do they start as a flower that looks, because we're looking at some pictures for those watching the video simulcast, these flowers look almost like jasmine.
Yeah, they do flower like all plants. Again, I forget the word, but there's actually 2 coffee beans that grow in one cherry.
Okay.
So when you pluck a cherry that's ripe, you may or may not have seen coffee shows before, and the ripe cherry's got a red color, mm-hmm. and the texture changes as well. But then that has a husk on it. You take the husk off, and inside are 2 coffee beans.
And those are the green beans that everyone is using as, once again, another superfood, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
And actually, I've again, in this process of learning with Jay and starting the nursery business, the cherries themselves actually have a really nice flavor, and the antioxidant capabilities, they're sought after for drinks. We've already had discussions with people that might want to use that part, which is right now a waste product of the processing.
And so these coffee plants are growing right in the midst of avocado orchards? Yeah,
we're the name of the nursery hasn't been established yet. We're tossing names back and forth, but we're working with things like layered agricultural systems, symbotanic, because there's everything we do in terms of the plants in the nursery, it has a symbiotic relationship with another plant.
Oh, okay.
Coffee in nature is an understory plant that really likes to be protected by other trees, other things in the environment. And so Jay started, one of the things that he did because of our wind conditions, our cold conditions in the winters, things like that, he planted them in an older avocado orchard that really wasn't the most productive avocado orchard in the world, but he does other things on top. So that's what we're calling layered agriculture, and we're going to be teaching other growers how they can produce more income streams from the same acres.
And I would imagine in some cases the plants help feed the other plants, where whatever they have breaks down into what the other plant
There's
needs?
certainly that sort of thing going on in the soil and sometimes between plants, but it's hard for us to know exactly what those relationships are yet. We had a long discussion today, in fact, about the fertilizer, the feeding requirements of the plant system, because that's what we're doing is we're layering things together so that we can do more than one thing on the land and utilize it better and produce different and delicious things.
So a year and a half from now, where will we find this? At farmers markets?
There's potentially, Jay participates in his own business in farmers markets in Santa Barbara. We participate in the farmers market in Santa Monica as Shanley Farms for some of our exotic specialties.
Yeah.
And locally here, we may participate in more, but right now, that's what we do.
Well, you have so many great products, Jim. We need to have you on time and time again. And like I mentioned before, the show's expanding to an hour, so we'll have a larger chunk of time set aside for you. I want to hear about some of the other products that you're growing, and then we'll get updates on the coffee as well. Jim Shanley, ShanleyFarms.com. You can find a link to it at EatDrinkExplore.com. Jim, thank you so much for being in studio with us today.
Thanks for having me, Randall.
All right, stick around.